So welcome back to the channel guys, and another chess video, and I'm back again with another chess video after so many days. And in this game I spotted a mate in 7, and before that mate in 7 my opponent was actually winning, or was actually in a far more better position than I was, but then eventually blundered a mate in 7. So let us see how it went. Opponent opened up with queen pawn opening d4. I played the best first move response against d4, which is knight to f6. h3 is on the board and I played e6. Bishop to g5, and I proceeded to go right after this bishop with the move h6. Bishop takes knight and queen takes bishop. And now knight to f3 is on the board. I played knight to c6. So far so good. Opponent played e3, and now I played b6. Opponent played c3. Look at how my opponent is placing most of his pawns on dark squares, because he does not have a dark squared bishop. So that's also something you should remember. So let us say if you somehow trade your light squared bishop in one of your games, then what you should do is to place most of your pawns in dark squares to counteract the movement of your opponent's dark squared bishop. So that's what my opponent is doing here. Now I played bishop to b7, knight b to d2, knight b to d2, yeah, that's it. Now I played bishop to d6, and I should have thought for a while because I completely missed knight to e4, and now I'm losing the bishop pair, and that's how I lost the bishop pair. And now opponent plays bishop to e2. I castled long and they castled short. And usually these opposite side castling games are won by the player whose attack is faster, and rarely ever by the player whose attack is slower but defends well in the end. So I played f5, opponent played b4 as expected. I played g5, b5, knight to e7, and now opponent jumps in with the knight to e5, threatening knight to f7 fork, which I completely missed as I moved my rook to rook to g8, and now simply knight to f7 wins the exchange. I played queen to a3. I should have also played queen to d4, threatening queen takes on g2 checkmate, but then opponent should have played bishop to f3, and all would have been well for the opponent. Like they needed not to play bishop to f3 in the position, but they should have just played the move f3, simply stopping the mate, because had they played bishop to f3, then I had queen takes on b5. Anyway, opponent proceeds to take my rook and I capture his knight back. c4 is on the board, and now I played f4, e takes f4 and g takes f4, and now g file is open for my rook. Queen to d3, and now I brought my queen back to d6. Bishop to f3, and here I felt very unpleasant because this trade cannot be avoided. So I just played knight to f5. Bishop takes on b7 check, and king takes on b7, and rook a to d1, simply defending the pawn on d4 pawn. And now I played knight to h4 to prevent any kind of queen to f3 check, but I missed queen to e4 check, and I played king to b8. And here my opponent had the opportunity to forcefully trade the queens by playing queen to e5, because my rook would have been under attack, and I would have been forced to trade the queens, but instead of that, opponent played f3. Okay, and now I played rook to g8, placing my rook on the g file, also threatening to take on g2. So my opponent defended it with the move rook to f2, knight to f5, and rook d to d2. And now both my opponent's rooks defend the second rank very well, so it's hard for me to create an attack on the king, especially with the rook and knight alone. So that's why I played queen to b4, trying to go for some kind of queen to b1 idea. But at the moment opponent has it covered, because if queen to b1, then simply rook to f1 can be played. Not to mention that queen to b1 check would be a blunder, because queen takes queen and I would resign by then. Anyway, opponent played d5, completely disregarding my undefended f4 pawn, and I played knight to e3. Opponent takes on e6 via d takes e6, again disregarding my f4 pawn, which is undefended here in this position as well. Now I played d takes e6, and in this position as well, opponent is far better than I am, as long as they do not take on e6, which is what my opponent did. And now I have a mate in 7. You wanna know? And not only that, it took me 1 minute and 37 seconds to stop the first move, spot the first move of the sequence, which is quite easy to spot. You know, in a position you must always look for checks first, and then captures, and then attacks. And here I played queen b1 check. The problem for white is that if rook f1, then I have queen takes f1, simply winning the game on spot. So opponent plays king to h2, but it's too little too late, as in this position I played the shocker. Rook takes on g2 check. Rook takes on g2. You might ask, what were you doing? Well, I was clearing the f1 square for my knight for the move knight to f1 check. And no, I did not want to win the rook back. I wanted to win the king, because here in this position the king has only two moves, king to h1 and king to g1. Both of them lead to mate. Opponent proceeds to play king to h1, but here comes knight to g3, double check, and neither of the pieces can be taken. Of course, the queen is not attacked by any of the white's pieces, and neither can white take my knight, because it's a double check. Only move is king to h2, and I hit the final nail in the coffin with the move queen to h1 check and mate. So yeah guys, that's it for today, and this is also the reason why you should never resign in chess. You know, it's never too late to blunder, even in a winning positions. You know, there have been games in which I was up a queen and blundered into a losing endgame, and ultimately lost the game. So that's it for today, and I'll see you in the next video.